Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I'm Robert here. Way over there is John.
That's
John, how are
me.
you doing this evening?
Doing all right. Not too bad.
And then right here in between us, the long anticipated J. Edgar has returned to the show. J. Edgar, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great tonight. How are you guys? I had an awesome interview earlier today.
I've heard rumors that it was pretty impressive. I heard you had somebody quite awesome on your show.
Very prestigious, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. You were lucky, I think. That guy's hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So, Jay Edgar's back with us tonight, folks. I hope everybody out there is doing well. He's dropped in, gonna shoot the shit with us for a little bit tonight while we talk about everything inconsequential and nothing substantial. John,
Yep.
how's it been since Friday? How was your weekend? Was it a good weekend?
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. Ran my first D&D campaign on Saturday because a certain asshole didn't show up. So,
That's me, Brown,
that would be you.
circular.
Yeah.
So, how did that turn out for you? Was it as everything you hoped it could be?
It was. It was actually pretty good.
Did you guys
No
actually get it?
complaints.
Do
I've
What's
never
what?
that?
played D&D.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, it's fun. If you're not gonna have a good time. It's kind of, it uses a lot of imagination when it goes into it. A lot of math. Very
Sounds
simple
like
math,
taking it in the
but
butt from a butch. If you're not into that kind of thing, it won't be
yeah,
very fun. But if
it's
you
true.
are, you'll enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Here's what D
I
and
can
D
agree with
is
that.
to me. D and D is like your parents telling you as you're growing up, you can be anything you want to be when you grow up, and that is true when you play D and D. You can be
Yeah,
anything you want to be.
absolutely.
So that's your parents' dreams and hopes coming true if you play
I
D
could
and
be
D.
John's mom.
You could
You
be.
could be.
Yeah,
Wow, that's a thought.
it is a thought.
That
I mean,
one.
you don't.
We need some
I don't.
moment. We need a moment to ponder. Please talk amongst yourselves. Here, I'll
Yeah,
give you a
I don't appreciate
topic.
you calling my mom a thought. That's pretty fucked up.
Ooh, oh my! This show has already taken a turn for the better.
Wait,
That's
did you
right.
just call me a thought?
Exactly. That was Robert. He called you a thought.
I did not. How did I do that?
Yeah.
What?
Am I
You
not a
said,
thought?
I'm not
you
even.
said that's a thought.
I'm old. I don't know what a thought is.
Oh yeah, you are all old. Oh dude, Midget B showing up. What's up, man?
In the chat, throwing the first insult. Glad he's
Yep.
here. Thanks. How you doing tonight,
I,
Midget B? Glad you're here.
yeah, I
Jagger's
think
here.
you're included in that as well, Ed. I think he's calling you a cunt as well. How do you
Welcome.
feel about that?
He wouldn't be the first one.
You gonna let the chat talk to you like that?
What am I going to do about it? I'm over here.
All right.
Yeah, he does have that wrench too. It's a pretty powerful wrench. So
Welcome to the collaboration of cunts.
that's right.
So yeah, I did a little interview today on a show that most of our listeners, viewers are familiar with, J. Edgar's show.
It should be linked in the description, right?
It should be. I need to get a link
Should
for
be.
that. When that comes along, I'm going to plug it in there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not uploaded yet.
Ah, gotcha.
see, we're
Well, it will be in the future in the
so we were
description.
doing a future show with past references, and it was so exciting. It was kind of interesting. Of course, I completely forgot to plug tonight's show because I was thinking it was Tuesday. For some reason, I had it in my head that it was Tuesday because I had just been reading stuff about the State of the Union address tomorrow, and
Oh yeah.
so I had Tuesday. I was thinking Tuesday, and then someone asked me about anything going on, any announcements with the show, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're on Fridays and we're on Mondays and blah blah blah. And then he reminded me, oh yeah, and Jagger's going to be there tonight. Oops. By the way, but of course, since it's going to be posted in the future,
It
you
doesn't
know,
matter.
right?
Right.
It's like it never happened.
So yeah,
Even though it did.
what are our thoughts on the State of the Union coming up on the SO2? Do we have any thoughts? I'm wondering who's going to play the halftime show. The Super Bowls was pretty shitty, so hopefully that one has a better one.
I didn't watch the Super Bowl's halftime show. I
I didn't either.
half-ass watched the Super Bowl, but I didn't have a giant tarp to project it on either.
Right. Yeah.
The whole SOTU is going to consist of let me pat myself on the back for job creation. B, I'm going to pat myself on the back for the economy. C, I'm going to pat myself on the back for standing firm on border security, and then the rest of it is going to be about border security and how the Democrats are failing America in making it
Probably.
happen. That is my
those,
prediction.
On those first two, did we forget who the president was? Because Barack Obama's out of office.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Now now you say that, J. Edgar, but if you watched our last show, God knows I said this in the public eye. I have seen there are positive impacts coming from his approach to the economy and job creation. There, especially primarily in the Social Security area. Where he's actually managed to forestall some of the negative impacts of the Social Security system for a little longer, based on where our economy has come from in the last gotten to in the last 2 years.
And if I hadn't heard you say it live on the air, I probably wouldn't believe it myself.
I mean,
yeah.
I even posited that should the world be taken out of the picture to where he didn't have to deal with that, if he were just a purely American policy president, I would have to consider him as a viable nominee in 2020. But since the world can't be taken out of the picture, never mind. Don't have to worry about it.
It's still a huge improvement from when we first started this show. You couldn't get him to shut up about how horrible Trump is.
Oh, I still think he's a piece of shit human being. You know that, though.
I listen to Shapiro every day, so I'm used to it.
Oh, yeah, he's not a big fan at all.
It's like listening to John say the same things, except at twice the speed.
Yeah,
I still haven't figured out.
Yeah, he does speak really quickly.
I can't figure out. Is there anybody out there that not from his ideology standpoint, but I don't know. He just doesn't seem like he would be a likable person.
Hey, who else helped Kevin in the lobby in New York?
That's true. Nobody else did.
I didn't see Hillary Clinton out there.
Nope.
Does that mean he's a likable person?
I mean, he's at least helpful to children.
He helped a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, who hasn't helped a 9-year-old?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, yeah.
But she eats babies, I thought.
She does eat babies.
So there was no need to mess with that one. He was too old for eating, right? He kisses black babies.
Yeah, as Midget B correctly points out, he kisses black babies. Bill Clinton was pretty good at that, too. He did quite a bit of that.
Yeah, but he was just trying to get close to the mamas.
And Clinton traffics 9-year-olds. That's a good one.
Wow.
That's funny.
Whew, let the
Good
media
stuff.
get a hold of that one. So, J. Edgar, how have things been going with your show and in your life, your ideology? Anything shattering where you stand in the world these days?
Not really. I mean, I kind of, with the abortion thing going on, we talked about that when we did my show, and I talked about it in my Sunday video. I've always been positively pro-choice for different reasons as I've been going through life. Yeah, obviously, I grew up in a union household, so I was reliably Democrat when I was younger. So abortion was a part of the platform that I was supposed to defend because that's where I fell.
Sure.
When I got older and I entered the job market, that was completely dried up because I entered the market in '08. I was almost insulted by politicians who wanted to talk about abortion at the time because we were hemorrhaging jobs every day, and that should have been the focus on everybody, not talking about what we could do in a fairy tale land where everybody's happy and everybody's perfect. And then now I look at it as a federal abortion ban would be a massive government overreach that
Hmm.
I I'm not comfortable with. If it was at a state level, I'd be more comfortable with it, but with it coming down from DC, I couldn't get behind it. But stuff like this stuff that's going on in Virginia and New York, that's going to move me right straight square into the pro-life camp because that is straight up infanticide.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely
buzzword
agree.
of the week, of course, but
Infanticide, yeah. But I mean, that really is what it is, though. I mean, they're talking about, outside the womb.
yeah,
We can have a conversation. Isn't that what he was saying? That's just, oh man, yeah, that is just ridiculous.
I'm not there yet, but that's going to be something that could definitely move me right straight into that camp.
Yeah, I agree with that because I've moved from being entirely pro-choice to now I'm kind of like, all right, let's step it back a little bit.
Well,
Let's relax on the whole, killing baby like actual babies. No matter, if you think it's not born yet, it's not a baby. We can at least agree that once it's born, it's a human. You
well,
know.
yeah, and ultimately, that's we don't have to stop being pro-choice because of that. But I think that we seriously have to look at the main part that was pointed out is government overreach.
Yeah.
Again, abortion is a medical procedure. If it's going to be regulated, it needs to be regulated under, you know, medical regulations, and that's it. And make sure that it remains an elective procedure. Outside of that, you know, I mean, aborting a baby, I don't think it's abortion whenever it is true. It's infanticide, it's euthanasia, it's whatever you want to call it once it's outside the body, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, we shouldn't be having that discussion about what we do with children. That should be just
Yeah.
thrown off the table.
Yeah. This isn't Sparta. We don't just chuck deformed babies off of cliffs.
Because
To be
that's
dashed against rocks.
that's in effect saying that, the epidemic of killing female babies was okay in China.
Yeah.
That wasn't okay. Seawall needs an Asian girlfriend.
Yeah, there's lots of those out there, though. Depending on
Can't
what
get any of
flavor. No.
But if a woman tries to abort a baby and it makes it out alive, he's on his own. More power to him. Let him go. Do their thing. Find somebody to adopt that child, whatever. But,
Yeah, Shapiro brought up a good point too. I mean, when people say that, oh, nobody will adopt these babies anyway, no, that's not the case at all. Yes, there are children in the adoption agency that are out there that can't be adopted, but they are children. They're 7 to 15. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, as it is, nobody wants to adopt a fully grown or partially grown child.
Yeah.
It's easy to adopt a baby. Well, it's hard to adopt a baby, but it's easy to get people to adopt a baby,
Yeah.
especially newborn like that.
Right.
You'll have
Exactly.
people lining up for that.
I do think that from the standpoint of adoption, we do need to institute a policy in this country. Stop importing babies. I mean, I don't know. Is that government overreach when you say adoption? If you're going to adopt a child here in the United States, it should be a baby from the United States?
Question:
Made in the USA.
Go ahead.
Can we still import mail order brides?
I don't know. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
So long as they're not
yeah,
Russian.
As long as they're not babies.
That was a one.
Yeah, but as we know, they're all Russian, secret agents. So we just can't take that risk.
Well, I think if we had some stronger lines on what we allowed when it comes to adoption, I mean,
That's kind of why we're having a hard time adopting babies out. Is they're difficult to adopt. Like it's way too much that goes into. I mean, I understand why, but yeah, there's a lot that goes into adopting a child. My cousin tried to do so. He tried to adopt a baby, him and his wife, and they both had decent jobs. They were very religious. They went to church every Sunday,
That's
and
the
they would.
problem right there.
Is it
Probably.
okay? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, but they were Christian.
Don't
That helps.
indoctrinate the child.
Yeah, but I mean, they had
Freedom
a
from religion.
they had a beautiful house, and all this stuff. Like they were really good people, and I don't know. For some reason, they just couldn't. They applied several times and just couldn't get it. So I'm not sure exactly why.
Well, there's people that should and there's people that shouldn't have children. I mean, and that unfortunately is how that system is set to proceed. I mean,
Yeah.
you never know what is keeping something from happening, but this idea that we need to go outside our country and adopt children when
Yeah.
there are perfectly good scenarios here where we can reduce the amount of orphan children in this country that wind up, so many of them wind up in bad scenarios as they get older.
Yeah.
I mean, how many homeless people were orphans growing up? How many of our poor were just stepped on by a system? I mean, I grew up, the first two of the first 3 years of my life was spent in the foster care system. That's a fucking system that needs an overhaul, more oversight, and that could actually be viable for a lot of these orphan children out there to have some semblance of a family. But the system is so screwed that it's some do it right, but others just do it for a check.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I can get behind that entirely.
Oh yeah.
But again, every time you talk about a situation like abortion, it's ironic that you sit and can think to yourself that you want less government oversight, but then the channels, like, even if you start looking at the adoption, then it's like, okay, well, adoption needs more regulation. The foster
Well, it's not that it
system
needs more.
needs more regulation or oversight.
Yeah, it needs less bureaucracy and more accountability,
Sure.
as opposed to more regulation, because it's heavily regulated already, like I was saying.
Well,
But
policed
what
is
it
probably
needs,
the better.
yeah, policed.
Yeah.
It's not policed properly in this country. Most
Right.
all of it isn't. Even
I've,
abortion.
I've never been in the system before, looked into it. Is that a state regulated system or is that federal?
Typically, I believe welfare, not welfare, but foster children is usually run by the state. But
Which that I'm okay with because, again, that takes the power out of DC. And I'm
Yeah.
sure that these lobbyists out there do want to put some restrictions from DC down to try and muck up the system even more and make abortion more viable.
Right.
For whatever reason, it seems to me like these lobbyists and all of these protesters out there want to make abortion the only thing.
Yeah.
That scares the hell out of me.
so let
Well,
me
what scares
ask.
the hell out of me even more is the shout your abortion people.
Get one!
Yeah, if you want an abortion, get one. Yeah, oh my god, the
I
fucking
think I have
screechy
that
ass
song
voice.
somewhere.
Do you really?
I think so.
Let me ask this question to whatever part of you leans towards pro-life, the two of you. What about would the answer to abortion possibly live in incentivizing carrying a child to term, provided it's safe for the mother? If it's deemed that it's not going to be safe for the mother, then we have to make a decision. But carry the child to term and incentivize that woman to have the baby, such as pay her, I don't know, a salary, a living income for the 9 months that she's pregnant, or
See,
for
that's
1
kind
year.
That's kind of what the problem with the welfare system to begin with is that people will actually have children in order to get an increase in their welfare
Right.
payments. So I think that's gonna be abused
No, I
to all
couldn't
hell.
get behind that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that to me leans towards, then you have to offer a more pro-choice approach to abortion in this country. I mean, if
Well,
you're not going to
here's
make it, if you're not going to give a woman a reason to carry a child to term, because so many pregnancies happen
Well,
unbeknownst.
why should the government be involved in whether or not a woman wants to carry a child or not? Like
Well,
that's the
you
whole
can call it
issue.
state or federal. Government is still going to be involved.
Go
let
ahead.
me
Go
let me
ahead.
back this up just a little bit further than this. First off, we shouldn't be incentivizing a woman to carry to term. We should be incentivizing the couples, whether they're monogamous couples or whether it's a one night fling or whatever the situation is, to be making better choices to begin with.
Hmm.
However, like I said it on my show, when I decided to stay pro-choice and not be pro-life, I did so on the good faith assumption that it was going to be early on something that you would do almost
Hmm.
immediately after you found out that you were pregnant, and not something where you're going to carry it up to the very last second and then let it go. And it
Right.
seems like my good faith is being challenged at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Yeah.
And I agree that if the mother is healthy, yes, we have a time frame. There should be a limit to how long a woman can have an abortion. But I do also agree with the fact that, we talked about this earlier in our interview, is there's this very fine line with if a woman is, say, in her third trimester, and the law in Virginia as it stands is that 3 doctors concur that she's not going to live through the pregnancy, does she have the right to abort to save her own life? And
Uh,
and
for,
and now the real issue in Virginia is that the new legislation is going to reduce that down to 1 doctor.
So you find one activist, and then boom, you don't have to carry the child to term.
right.
But if there's a legitimate medical concern, should a woman readily say, should she be prepared to say, okay, I'm going to sacrifice my life to have this child in 2 months?
I think that's probably one of the very few times I would say, yeah, that's probably acceptable to, abort the child, unfortunately. It's not something I really want to say either.
And now,
But
and this does constitute the thought, that some of these are going to happen after the deadline for aborting a standard abortion, right? So,
And that's
well, I mean,
something where you have to go case by case on that too. I think, in all
right.
complete honesty, that's not
yeah.
going to be what they're trying to do right now. Is make a blanket rule for the case by case situation. It's just like DACA and amnesty for everybody. It's the same situation. Everything should be going on a case by case basis, and if something like a social worker has to get involved for some sort of government intervention, which I don't agree with either. But if that's the case that has to be, then that's the case that has to be, instead of making a blanket rule to cover a couple of cases that are incredibly rare statistically.
Well, how do we, in issues like this? So when we look at abortion, when we look at, we could pull a dozen different areas out where you would both agree that it's better for the states to be in control. Now, John, I know you're a big proponent of the states should be the ones that govern abortion, right? They should be
Yeah.
able to institute their own laws. But
Hmm.
what do we do about equanimity, equality across the board between states? I mean, are we really okay with? Okay, so X number of states, it's completely illegal to have abortion. State next door, it's legal to have an abortion, and this other state on the other side, it's legal to have an abortion all the way up through the third trimester, and the state down below, it's only legal to abort in the first trimester. I mean, where do we find a balance to where it's
Well,
it's not about
so
what state you're in, and you?
So yeah, no, it does though. So the good thing about doing it that way with the states deciding for themselves is that you can implement these different policies in one state and then try it out as acting like a pilot program for the rest. So if it works out in this state, then other ones will follow suit, and
But
if
you
it doesn't, they won't. Just like with the marijuana legalization in Colorado. They tested it out in that state, found that the crimes were going down, tax revenue was up, and then more states started following suit. And I think it's the same thing. What happened with that was that one state's going to find what really works right, and then the rest will kind of follow in.
So, but all states are going to need abortion legislation at the same exact time, because women are getting.
Yeah, they really don't.
Really, because from the way I figure it, there's women in every state every day becoming pregnant and considering abortion. So that means there needs to be, if it's not going to be handled by the federal government, then that means every state needs to have something to institute as far as abortion is concerned from the get-go.
Right. So
it can't be a pilot. It can't be a pilot in one state.
No, you are completely wrong on that. As long as the laws are not on the books, it is decriminalized. That's the way this country is supposed to be. I agree that it's not running that way anymore, but if the law's not on the books, it's the Wild West.
But not only that, but a lot of them do already have their own abortion laws.
Okay, so you're saying the federal government legislation on abortion stands till we have one state that figures out how to do abortion regulation properly, and then that can spread to other states.
Right.
Or we just take the gloves off and let the Wild West happen and let the states figure it out as they go. I mean,
because the bottom line is what works in California, they could do it in California and have great success with it. But Texas, North Carolina, Michigan, none of these states are gonna agree that the way they think in California is right for their state because of the spiritual population, the Democrats versus Republicans in every state. We're divided.
Right. And so they'll be able to make those laws based on their demographics of their state.
Okay.
And California is going to have abortion up to 5 years anyway.
And simply because
I'm actually looking around at some of the kids these days. I don't know. I might be for that.
I believe that the biggest issue I have with states' rights is that it creates inequalities from the standpoint of being an American.
So that's not true. You still have all of your constitutional rights.
Sure, you have your constitutional rights, but each state has its own constitution and its own legislations about things.
There's already inequalities.
So it gets into this whole, well, if you don't like what's going on in this state, you have to move to another state. And
you vote out. Yeah, you vote out the people currently in power in your state and vote in people.
That's not right either, Robert. If you don't like what's going on in your state, you have the opportunity to move to another state. You are not forced to do anything. This is a free country. If you want to sit and suffer and complain, that's your own problem.
That's what I'm saying. The state you're in, you're bound by those laws.
But you also can vote out the people who are messing it up and vote in. Right.
And if you don't, if you're not in the majority or the representative majority, then you just have to suffer through with it. Right? You just have to suffer through with laws that don't.
Which
that you don't agree with
anyway.
Sure. But in
fact, you have to do it twofold because you have to follow Washington's laws as well.
Here's the other side to this, and I'm going to take what John just said and take it a little bit further on this. You have Senator Scott down there by you guys now, right? He was confirmed.
Yeah.
So right now in D.C., as they're planning and making and passing laws, Senator Scott is weighing in on laws that are going to affect me, and I have no opportunity to vote him out. Whereas up here, if everything was done at a state level, I have a direct opportunity to vote out the people who are trying to make the laws that affect me. Under the federal government now, I only have the direct ability to vote out 3 of the people who are making laws that are going to affect me.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, I thoroughly agree that it's a broken system in almost every way you look at it. Because we don't have a true democracy, whether on the state level or the federal government level. We don't have that. We're still stuck in a representative democracy, which doesn't work.
It's a better system than a true democracy, for sure.
Is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because if California was making all my decisions, I would have already hung myself.
Yeah.
But see, that's
We'd
where
be in a socialist utopia right now, all starving.
So
and crumbling infrastructure.
See, that's what I find interesting is that it's not like California, has enough people to be the end all be all of what happens if 80% of Americans voted for something.
California has 53 representatives.
Oh, no. But we would be done with in a true democracy, we would be done with the representative system. That won't matter. It's about individual voices.
But think about that in relation to the population.
Yeah.
Sure, California has a lot of population. Do they have more than, say, New York State?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have more than the entire Northeast together?
Close.
Do they have more than the rest of the 49 states?
Well, no, but
then they're not going to carry a majority of a vote of the citizenry.
There's a lot of people who think similarly as well. So it's going to be tyranny of the majority in that case.
California has the same population as the smallest 26 states combined. If you don't believe me, you can go and check the stats that I cited in the video that's on the top of my channel page.
Okay, so then when it's all said and done, if we're looking at things from a state level, California wins.
Yes.
People want to live there. People want to live.
Well, people are
Why
leaving.
Is that a problem?
People are fleeing California right now.
So then what would be the complaint if people are leaving California? I mean that's what I'm trying to understand.
People are leaving California and they're going to other states where they're going to try and make it just like California.
Plus, try and collect on the $1.3 trillion that California owes the rest of the 49 states, and see how many people stay living there.
And let's act like most of the states in this country aren't beholden to somebody from a financial standpoint. I mean, shit happens. But we want to support that state, and we want that state to be a part of the union. But just because we don't believe, really,
can go.
But you can say the same. Then you're not that to me doesn't speak to a mindset that wants states to be in control of themselves. Because
they can be in control of themselves. They can leave us alone.
And they can stop taking our money.
Yeah.
You act like every state in the union isn't taking your money. I mean,
Texas isn't.
Florida's not taking my money.
Shit,
Wisconsin is taking my money, but that's because I live here.
Florida we don't have a state every day, John.
Well, yeah, but we don't have a state income tax, so that's not taking my income.
No, you pay sales tax though to your state and your local municipalities. I mean, you still your state still takes money from you. But I mean, we can't sit here and act like, we only want a certain segment of this country to be representative of what Americans think. I mean, if that's the case, then you are saying that our representative democracy works, which it doesn't. Because the people who are making decisions in Washington are not making their decisions necessarily based off the will of the people, the will of their constituents.
Which is why if they had far less power, then it wouldn't matter what they're doing in Washington. What would matter is what they're doing in Tallahassee.
Sure.
For us.
Where we would increase their power and hope it doesn't corrupt.
Okay, but it's a lot easier to hold them accountable. Tallahassee is about, a 2.5-hour drive from us?
I love this idea that we
18-hour drive to Washington.
But this idea that we can hold anybody accountable.
Absolutely, we can.
At the ballot box, you can.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't hold Rick Scott accountable, but I can hold Tammy Baldwin accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want some of this power taken away from the federal level.
Right.
I believe that we could take some power away from the federal government, but if we give too much to the states, it will create a bad situation in this country. That
it was working just fine until just after the Civil War, where during the the Restoration era.
So it led to a Civil War. Great.
No, it didn't lead to the Civil War.
No,
it wasn't that.
Kind of did.
Well, I mean, it wasn't that. It was, it was an argument between states' rights and non-state and the federal rights. It was really So, and obviously the federal government won. and now we're where we are now.
I
We
mean,
have all this federal government, overreach.
right. I mean, because, slavery's a good point there. I mean, so we switch power to 50 states in this country. What's to stop a state from going to somewhere even close to that extreme?
The
I mean,
Constitution.
so we're still gonna have to have a federal government to enforce a
Yeah, of
constitution
course.
on the states.
Yes, that's one of the functions of government. Yeah,
Yeah,
one of
the
the functions
federal
of the federal
government
government.
is
Mhm.
the federal government
Good.
was only intended to deal with interstate commerce, and then the
Hmm.
rest of the laws were supposed to come down from our state governments or municipalities, even by that point.
And we've already
Hmm.
proven that the government can't enforce laws that override every state. We've already seen that because states are legalizing marijuana
Right, but they're going to spend a
against
shitload of
the
money trying
law,
to.
with the
Right.
federal government. So we literally have states that are breaking the law.
Yeah,
Like Judas Priest.
So
that's right.
when we give them
great
even
song.
more power and reduce federal government power, how do we prevent these states from continuing to exaggerate what they do and break federal law or skew federal law and
Well,
make
the
it
thing is, the laws that they're breaking, if you want to bring up the marijuana one, are things that people don't want enforced. Like no state's gonna legalize murder, right?
Well,
I hope
Virginia
not.
kind of just did.
I
Well,
hope
yeah.
not. Right. So there we go. But I mean, one would hope they wouldn't. One would hope that Alabama didn't decide once they had enough power as a state that it was only a misdemeanor to lynch black people. We, I mean, when do we realize how much our government does need to be stepping in on what states are doing? I mean, we are in a point now where we are showing as states that the federal government doesn't have the oversight that they want. We are quick to jump at anything that looks like it, such as abortion, and and try to shut that shit down. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do
So see, the
states
thing
seem
is,
to
I
have the
wouldn't.
power you're talking about already?
They really don't. But and things like that they do, mostly due to Roe versus Wade. But
And millions of dollars of Planned Parenthood lobbying.
yeah,
And and
yeah,
and
that's it, which
and,
is at the federal level.
and
Hmm.
there's where it comes to is the money.
Hmm.
When it's about money, this is where the government has its claws sunk in the deepest.
Right. And if
And
the federal government had way less power, then not as much money is going to go there because it's not going to do anyone any good.
as long as they are holding their hand out to the federal government for anything, there will always be a need to capitulate to what the federal government says. So,
Or you could be like me and hold my butt out to the federal government.
That's right.
but you've got to make your state government successful. It's the only way, and it's got to be profitable. That's all there is to it. If state governments aren't self-sufficient, you're always going to have overreach from the federal government.
Yeah.
I have to
So,
say that.
do we want to move on to the
Yeah, so now that
political
we
compass?
have some
Now that
understanding
we've-
about where
what do
J.
you-
Edgar thinks he stands, let's
Yes.
take a look at where he truly stands. All right, so I guess I'll do the technical stuff. And
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
That's
you-
a technicality.
do you have the show pulled up, J. Edgar, or do I need to share my screen?
Probably-
I have it pulled up, but it's on a delay, so.
Yeah, you should probably just share your screen.
Always seems to be the case.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna try and see.
See if I can't.
Oh, man.
It's a frame within a frame within a frame within a frame.
Yeah. Frameception.
Are you getting frameworked?
I've been framed!
All right, so can you see that pretty well now that I've got
Yeah.
it blown all to hell
Out
and
of
back?
proportion.
You've got your glasses on, so you should be able to handle this. Okay, so I'll read these off to you. You tell me how you feel about them. The first questions are just proposition questions. Let's see where you stand. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interest of transnational corporations. Strongly disagree, disagree, agree, or strongly agree.
If we're going to fall into globalism, yeah, it should be serving humanity, obviously. So I'm going to say I agree with that.
All right.
I agree.
I would always support my country whether it was right or wrong.
I strongly disagree with that, as we just found out.
Yeah.
No one chooses his or her country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
Strongly disagree.
Strongly disagree.
Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
That sounds like something that you would drag somebody behind the back of a truck for.
Yeah.
Are you talking like races and skin color, or races in like the human race?
I think
the human race does have superior qualities, but
it's broad basing the old argument that whites have superior this, that, and the other. But of course, as we know, other races have their own superiorities.
Well, yeah.
But the bottom line is, our race, you're a white male, I believe, is what it looks like on my screen. It has many superior qualities compared with other races.
yeah, I don't agree with that. We're all people.
Disagree or strongly disagree?
Yeah, disagree.
All right. The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
I disagree with that in a strong sense.
Strongly disagree.
Yes.
All right. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Hey, what's up tonight, Henry?
Oh, hey, Henry.
I didn't think about that one for a sec, because the worrying part is what changes it for me.
I
I agree with that.
Yeah. See, now I lean that way myself on this one because, it's just people are getting too much of their information from jokey laugh shows, and they can't tell the difference between sarcasm and reality. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like our show.
Yeah. Yeah. There's you.
Yeah.
All right. Now, about the economy. Let's talk economy. People are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality.
I could see that.
So you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. I could see that.
Yeah, that's what I said as well.
Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
I agree with that. Inflation, the pie stays the same size under inflation. There just becomes more and more pieces of that.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I agree with that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many jobs there are if none of them are paying well, or if the money's not worth anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Now this one causes a minor bit of contention between John and I. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
I strongly disagree with that, especially in social media culture. I strongly disagree with that.
So we should not regulate them, even
No,
though
the
we cannot
general
trust them to
population will
follow.
do that. We should not regulate them at a legal level. The general population, especially with the fact that they can communicate across the country in a second, are going to do that for us. Mm-hmm. If businesses are going to pollute deliberately, they are going to be shamed and boycotted until they go out of business.
Absolutely.
or till they
strongly
find a
disagree
new
with that.
place to dump it that nobody knows about.
Oh, the
Good
social
luck.
justice warriors will find them.
Yeah, good luck.
I promise that.
The internet will find
But-
you, and it will send
4chan
you,
is forever.
and it will send you dick pics.
So you realize that the main thing about the regulation, and I'm just going to say this, the regulation is how we prosecute the companies for what they did. If there's
If
no
they go
regulation,
out of business, they are sufficiently prosecuted.
really? So if people
Yes.
are ill and sick for the rest of their lives from something a company did, they can just rest easy on the fact the company went out of business. Without
They won't be making people ill and sick for very long.
it doesn't matter if anybody
Nobody will buy their
is.
product.
Without regulation, you have no legal recourse against that company. I'm just putting that out there. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
I don't understand that question.
It's the Communist Manifesto is basically what it is.
It's
From each
Marxism.
according to his ability to each according to his need.
So basically, the government distributes what you need without
Right,
any question as to how much worth your job carries.
Right,
I disagree with that strongly.
Yeah, you give to the best of your ability, and you receive what you need.
Yeah, no.
Adequate
Yeah.
to your needs at best.
No.
Yeah, well, in an ideal world,
Yeah.
but that never works out that way.
All right. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
I strongly disagree with that. If
You
somebody's
listen
willing
strong.
to pay, if somebody's
Okay.
willing to pay for it,
Right. I like how many like strong opinions you have on this. I usually try to not have strong
Because you're a
like
pussy.
strong
You
opinions.
like to sit on a fence post up your ass.
and I
yeah.
already strongly disagree because I read it ahead.
Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought or sold. You strongly disagree.
I strongly disagree with that.
The
Buy
land
and
is
sell to your heart's
everyone's,
content.
man. It's not your land,
Wait.
man. It's
Buy and
I've got a
sell-
everyone's.
shotgun. It is my land.
But if you buy, but buying and selling to your heart's content means it is a commodity.
That's,
Right.
Yeah, I strongly disagree that it should be a commodity. I agree it should be a commodity.
Gotcha. All right. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to their society.
That is blatantly false. That's a blatantly false statement to begin with, so it can't be regrettable. If you make that money, whether you manipulate it or not, you're putting people to work to get that money one way or another.
So I'm going to throw
So
out
you are
three
not
letters.
contributing nothing to society.
I'm going to
What
throw
about, like,
three
day
letters out there
traders?
to you. MLM. These are guys
MLM.
that have ridden the third-party train to fortunes, and the people that they put to work underneath them aren't actually working and may see a little bit of money or not.
Well,
But
there's
anyway,
also day traders who will, sit there and, put money in, wait until it goes up a little bit, take it out, put it in something else. So they're kind of investing, but they're also removing their money as soon as they make some and then putting it into something else. So I think that's kind of more what it's saying, like manipulating the stock market without
Well-
actually like leaving your money to be invested.
well, it's a
Anybody who's moving money around is contributing something to the society
Yeah, fair enough.
in some small way or another. I disagree with that.
protection is sometimes necessary in trade. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade.
No. I disagree with that.
You disagree?
I disagree
Interesting.
with that.
The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. Social responsibility.
No, it should be delivering a profit to its shareholders, but it should also be making sure that it can hold itself above water and continue to provide a good provide a good or a service to the American people and provide an outlet for people to have labor or perform labor rather and get something back out of that as well.
Well,
No,
sure.
that's not the only social responsibility.
Well, do we? So, my thought is that this question is kind of referring to, say, Gillette, in a sense. So Gillette has taken it upon itself to be social justice warriors and bring men back in line. That kind of social responsibility, I thought, is what this question was asking about.
No, it has a social
Because-
responsibility to provide a good or service to the American people and make sure that the laborers who create the good or service are compensated justly for the work that they perform.
Well, is that a social responsibility, or is that
Yes, it is.
Is that
Yeah,
a
it
fis- is that
That
a
is damn
fis-
well a social
hold on, or is that a
responsibility.
fiscal responsibility? Because when it's all said and done, they don't have a responsibility to put a company out there that gives people jobs. They don't have a responsibility to put a company out there that makes a great product. They can just make a product and whatever. They don't have a social responsibility in those things unless we want to pretend that we can impose that on them. It's a free market. They're free to do what they want. I don't understand how they would have a social responsibility to be shit other than a profit-building company.
If they have a social responsibility to deliver a profit to their shareholders, they adopt the social responsibility to make sure that their workers are justly compensated and they are providing a good service to the American people. If they are not doing both of those things, they deserve to fall to the wayside.
It's a shame that that doesn't happen in the present day and age because most companies do not bear the social responsibility of providing a workable wage for their employees. Most companies don't.
It's because it's too easy to get welfare.
Well, it's also too easy to not have to pay a decent living wage.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, because it's too easy to get welfare. Places like Walmart will actually help employees get on EBT and things
Yes,
like that.
they will.
Because it's way easier to have the government supplement their salary than to give them something worth it. You know, give them a livable wage.
But we don't want government overreach to raise the minimum wage. Remember that.
Right.
No.
Right.
The rich
Do
are
away with a minimum wage.
do away with the minimum wage. Great. Great.
I've said that before in like one of the first episodes we did. We had a whole. In fact, I think it was the first time we took this test on like episode 2. We had a huge argument about that.
I know, because you guys have so much faith in what the free market will do.
Well, I have
It'll
faith
drive
in.
inflation down too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to ship shit in from China drives inflation down for most people. Order shit off Wish, and then you don't have to worry about inflation. I mean, that's
Fuck Wish.
I wish it's kind of all right.
it saves a lot of people a lot of money, I'll have to say. All right, the rich are too highly taxed.
Strongly disagree.
Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards
Wait, hold
of
on a
medical care.
Yeah, I think
Hold on a
you.
sec. I think I was wrong on that.
Yeah,
I
I
strongly
thought-
agree with that.
Oh,
I misheard the
you think
question.
the rich are too highly taxed? They just recently
Yeah.
got tax cuts.
Yeah, and they should have been going further.
So why should a worker pay 3% in taxes and a corporation only pay 10?
Corporations should pay almost nothing in taxes, and the income of the individuals in the corporation should be taxed.
Yeah, but they should have thought of that before they decided that corporations are considered entities now.
And by the way, I do believe that the middle class is too overly taxed too, because our government spends way too goddamn much money.
No, we
That's
go
true.
into debt. We don't spend too much money. We go into too much debt.
Yeah, we
There's a
just keep writing
difference.
checks, and for some reason they don't bounce.
Right, because nobody's cashing them. They're sitting,
No one's cashing them.
they're
Yeah,
sitting in that box of grandma checks that they get from their birthday.
that's right.
All right, those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
I agree with that.
That's a tough one for me. I can't stand the thought of that money means you get better health care from Dr. J. You know? It's like Dr. J will operate on her who doesn't have much money and just half-ass the job. But this guy with lots of money, he'll go ahead and do the full job. It sucks to think about it that way. All right, governments should penalize businesses that mislead the public.
Now, I don't think you should be lying to the public. I think everything should be transparent, but I'm torn on that because that's government overreach, and I don't want that either. That's a difficult one.
Yeah.
I mean, this to me says it's the
Well,
government
don't try and
enforcing
sway.
social responsibility, isn't it?
No, don't try and sway his decision.
No,
I
I'm
mean,
just asking a
you can
question.
tell him he's wrong if he's wrong after, but
No, I'm asking a question. Does this not support the idea that the government, through overreach, is ensuring social responsibility from companies?
Yes, but we also get in trouble on an individual level if we commit perjury and lie to the government. So
That's true.
that's a hard one. And we could be looking at misleading the public as a form of theft. I'm going to go with I agree with that. Because I can't stand the thought of the businesses
Yeah.
stealing from the American people by bearing false witness.
Yeah, going grocery shopping really opens your eyes to just how misled the public is on a regular basis. It's crazy fun stuff. All right, a
Yeah.
genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies.
A genuine free market requires... No, I strongly disagree with that. That's a contradiction of terms. A genuine free market would have no restrictions on it whatsoever, and then the people would decide
Right.
what it is that they want to do.
Yeah, I don't think whoever writes this test knew that, or I don't know,
Well,
because that is kind of a contradiction in terms. But when I took this, I did say agree, only because if you have a monopoly, there can't be competition, and the free market requires competition to function correctly.
right.
Yes, but the free market breeds competition as well. If the monopoly jacks the price too high, somebody's going to reverse engineer it, find a cheaper way to make it, and undercut the monopoly.
But we've seen what happens with like social media or the Silicon Valley monopolies, right? I mean, anytime a competitor comes along, they just axe them. So I think that's kind of it's a tough, it's a tough thing because I want to say no, no regulation, but we've seen what happens when that's not allowed, when competition is not allowed to happen.
But if there are restrictions on it, that's not a genuine free market either.
Right. It's not 100%.
So the way that's worded, I strongly disagree with that.
Okay.
All right. The freer the market, the freer the people.
I strongly agree with that. Make your own decisions on what you want to buy and how much you want to spend for it.
All right. Personal social values. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal.
I disagree with that.
That's funny, too. We just spent like 40 minutes talking about that exact question.
All authority should be questioned.
I agree with that strongly.
Strongly agree.
An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
The old Hammurabi Code. Restitution does have a valid place in our society, but to try and put somebody out over the fact that if he has to steal to eat, I think that's going too far. I disagree with that.
I did as well.
Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
A lot of dead air.
Yeah, I got to think about that one for a second. That's why, because...
I'm surprised. What's your thought process?
I'm going to take this back to the tax volunteerism idea that I came up with when I was talking about how to build the wall. No, I don't think they should be expected to, but I think the offer should be extended to them. So I'm going to disagree that, or I'm going to agree they shouldn't be expected to, but that's going to be on the case basis, and that's why I'm not going to strongly agree that they should have the offer extended to them in times of crisis. Because the arts are the first thing to lose money.
Right.
Yeah.
And rich people will do things to prop up the arts. They'll donate by themselves, of course, but if you want to do it through the government and take a little break off your taxes to do so, that's I feel comfortable with my answer to that.
Right. As long as this would be, this kind of thing would be viable as long as people as a whole took on their own social responsibilities to protect the arts through donation.
Yeah, and I think most people do. When you go to a museum, you see the little like suggested donation box where you don't have to give them money, but if you don't, they kind of look at you weird.
They look at me weird anyway.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
All right, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory.
I agree with that.
Good man.
Then how do we keep the kids in school?
You can't. You can't do it now. I mean,
Yeah.
you telling me you went to school every day you were supposed to?
Yes, I did. The only time I didn't
man.
go to school was when I was sick and I had a doctor's note. That's how it was when I was growing up.
Where?
No, that's how it was when I was growing up. If you were out of school and sick, you had an absence and you showed why you were absent. Your parents backed you up,
I mean,
whatever.
when I was there, the compulsory came from my parents. It wasn't coming down from the local government. We didn't have a truant officer where I grew up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't compulsory as far as the government was concerned. Yes, I had to go answer to my parents, but that was
Yeah, I'm not sure if
more of a hell than the government was going to put down on me.
I'm not sure if we had a truant officer, but I always just went to a friend's house anyway because his mom was working during the day, so we just kind of had the run of the place, so it didn't really matter.
Well, and by the end of it too, I was barely there anyway. I qualified for a late in, and I had work release, so.
Oh yeah.
Well, compulsory attendance at school is one of the best life teaching lessons you have.
Yeah, but
because
I think
it
that should
teaches you that you are going to have a job every day that you're going to have to go and work at.
Right,
every
but
day.
why does the government have to teach you that lesson when your parents should be the ones doing it?
That's true.
Shouldn't be
And
replacing
Because
the
somebody
state. You
has to
shouldn't be
hold the
replacing-
parents that don't accountable.
No.
How
No,
do
they
you
don't.
hold parents accountable?
You shouldn't be replacing the parents with the state.
Hold on.
That is
That's
always a
absolutely
bad
correct.
thing.
So then if we don't hold them accountable, then it doesn't really matter in the long run. If you're not going to hold the parents accountable, then why should the parents hold the children accountable?
They're going to or they're not going to either way.
And besides, your attendance at work is not compulsory as far as the state is concerned.
Right.
If it was, that would be socialism or communism by that point.
No, it
Yeah.
teaches you that there's an expectation from someone that you do your
Right,
due
your
diligence.
parents can do that far more effectively
No,
than the
parents.
government can.
What parents can do and what parents should do are two different things.
Right, and there's a lot of parents who don't do it despite it being compulsory.
Yeah, and they can be held accountable from that angle. Then they
Yeah, but
deal with
most-
the
most
repercussions of their actions.
Yeah, but most parents do. Most parents are responsible about sending their children to school.
Yes, it's very
Mainly
blanket.
because they don't want to care for them during the day.
Yeah, well, they can't. A lot of times they have to work, right? So
And
Free
you also
daycare.
have the idea of homeschool that falls into that because
Mm-hmm.
if it is compulsory from the government standpoint, that means that homeschooling would be illegal. And
Which
then
I
you send your
believe it-
kids to the
No,
indoctrination
because the
center.
which I believe it is in Canada. I'm
from
pretty sure
from the
homeschool-
standpoint of homeschooling, the homeschool is considered the classroom. Being on your computer, attending school is considered being in the classroom.
Yeah, but how
qualifies.
does the government know that you're teaching your child during that time
Mm-hmm.
and what you're teaching them?
Because most homeschooling is now going to online with the public school system. Like Florida, here in Florida, if you're homeschooling,
Yeah.
you're on the Florida public school website doing school.
I don't know. I was homeschooled
That's an
for
expectation
1
here
year
in this state.
for seventh grade. I was homeschooled, and like there was no
Sure.
there was no oversight at all.
Sure, but it's come a long way since then.
And also, my mom was a certified teacher, though. So
Yeah,
I
well,
mean
see,
that is one thing. But
see, now I had 3 years ago had a teenager that was homeschooling, and she had to do it through the computer through the public school system, and they failed her ass out because she was slacking off and not doing her shit. But
Yeah.
you know,
but whose fault was
a
that?
lot of it was attendance.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get up, in the morning and go over to the computer 10 feet from your bed.
All right, all people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind.
I strongly disagree with that. Diversity is
Good
our
call.
strength,
That's right. All cultures are beautiful.
especially the Latinas.
Good parent,
yes.
good parents,
That's my favorite, actually.
good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
I strongly agree with that. I think there should be some more of that, actually.
Just
It's-
be mandatory whoopings.
It's natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents.
I agree with that.
Hmm.
Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense.
I strongly agree with that.
The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs and show up every day.
Without Robert's commentary, I do agree with that as well.
We were just noticing that on Andrew Yang's website. One of the things he was talking about was school, didn't we, John? That there would be to institute life lesson classes in school to teach kids how to expect to deal with life later on. Get back
Yeah.
to the teaching them that.
See, are you talking about stuff like how to write a check, how to pay taxes, and things like that?
How to function
Well,
in the
like
real
shop
world.
class and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Well, because it's the basic stuff that the social media meme goes around and says, "Oh, we never learned this in school." Everything on that list I learned in 7th grade. Between civics class and our keyboarding class taught most of that.
But since you were in 7th grade, they've changed a lot of things. They don't even teach
So I
cursive
noticed.
anymore, right? There's things that are falling by the wayside, and there's a
Really?
whole new math, right? It's like,
Yeah, there's a
Well-
whole new math.
Well, government documents and the Constitution are written in cursive, so if you can't read it, you don't know what your rights are.
exactly.
Not only that, but the state will teach
Exactly.
you math. 2
All right.
and 2 is 5 if the state says it's 5.
That new math is based in China, just FYI. People
Yeah.
with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce.
I strongly disagree with that. If you wanna pass that on, it's your God-given right as an American citizen.
America.
The most
We're
important
not in Iceland.
The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline.
No, I don't agree with that. The most important thing for children to learn is to think for themselves
Yep.
and question discipline.
Question discipline or question authority? There's a difference.
Question
Well, there's-
authority, which passes down discipline.
there's
Discipline
also
is
self-discipline,
after you
what you can
questioned
teach.
authority and were proven wrong. Then the discipline comes. You need.
Well, there's
I-
self-discipline as well, which you can teach someone.
I agreed with this. Didn't strongly agree, but I agreed with that one because I think it's important for children to understand that there are repercussions for actions when they get out there and live life. They can't just go out there and expect to bounce around like a pinball and never go down down the tubes, you know.
I mean, I learned how to accept discipline at some point, but that's more of a bedroom game than anything.
Nice.
All right, so we have a sub. All right, there are no savage and civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
Who are all beautiful. All the cultures.
I strongly agree with that.
Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support.
I strongly agree with that. If you're not putting into society, you shouldn't be able to take back out of it.
Right. Absolutely.
When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it, but to keep busy with more cheerful things.
As somebody who suffered from depression at a very serious state, I actually strongly disagree with that. Because you do need to work through it no matter what.
First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country.
I strongly disagree with that. I mean, you look at my Irish ancestors, they knew English from being Irish, but they were learning English, they were coming down, they were assimilating to the culture, or the Italians, that's a better example. They
Yeah.
learned English, they learned how to game the system, and learned how to bootleg whiskey.
Hell yeah.
All right. What's good for
Our
the
two
most?
favorite things: bootleg and whiskey.
What is good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
I strongly disagree with that. What's best for everybody is individual.
Mm-hmm.
No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding.
Does that include Pornhub?
Seems not.
I disagree with that. Like, I think it's important for PBS to get some public funding, but it has to be labeled that it's publicly funded. You can't just let it go willy-nilly, get the public funding, and transmit the propaganda without letting the people know that's where their source is coming from.
Of course.
Kind of
I
like
think it's
BBC.
okay for broadcasting. What's that?
Kind of like the BBC.
Yeah,
where it's just
kind of
state
like the
propaganda.
Yeah. You at least have to know what you're getting and where it's coming from and where it's getting paid from.
All right, here wider society questions. Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism.
I strongly agree with that.
I could have answered that.
That's a
one
pretty
for you.
easy one.
A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system.
Who wrote this test? Karl Marx?
Yeah.
I strongly disagree with that.
I think that's what it's trying to determine is if
It's trying
you
to
are
weed out
Karl
the
Marx.
communists and the ANCAPs, trying to find out where you are between those two.
Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
Is that like saying if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to worry about? I see where your cursor's hanging, and
Oh,
you're
yeah, I know.
absolutely right.
I can't believe you haven't already said strongly
I can't believe
disagree.
you had to think about that.
I didn't have to think about it. I was just appalled by the fact that it was there. I strongly disagree with that.
The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes.
I strongly agree with that.
In a
Not even
civilized
serious crimes. You're like, you stole a tire. Fucking death penalty for you.
In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
I disagree with that.
Wow.
Yes, it's going to happen naturally, but it's not something that should be expected, obviously.
Yeah, everybody, you got to have a leader.
Well, you're going to have a leader.
Well, you've got to
You
have
don't have
one.
to.
Otherwise,
I am
everybody
the
just
leader.
walks around with their thumb up their ass.
Hey, I get turned on by that.
TMI. All right. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
I disagree with that.
Figured you might.
Yeah, I think if you make it, it's your art. It's how you see it.
I mean, it represents something to the artist, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
A paycheck, maybe.
So you can never say that art doesn't represent anything.
Even if it's called non-representational.
Right. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation.
See, I'm kind of on the middle of that one because I want people to get done with their punishment and get back out to the society. So rehabilitation should be a part, but punishment should be the most important part. I agree with that. Not strongly, but I agree with that.
Rehabilitation should be the punishment, because it doesn't require that you're imprisoned. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals.
10 years ago, I would have disagreed with that, but I have actually met some people that have changed my views on that personally, working in a work release facility or a facility that had work release included on that. It is a waste of time to try and rehabilitate some criminals, some specific ones. I agree with that.
The business person and the manufacturer are more important
I
than
have
the
one
writer.
name in mind, by the way. Sorry.
The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
I strongly disagree with that, and that's coming from the fact that this is a conversation between three people who are writers and artists.
Right.
No, autist. It's different.
If you don't have writers and artists, who sells your shit? All right. So
Yeah.
mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
I strongly disagree with that. Mothers can do whatever it is that they want to do. I got into a big argument about this on Twitter. Massive 3-day argument on Twiter
Holy
with somebody
shit.
I want to be my co-host.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
Back in Liberty, Mackenzie.
Not familiar.
Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries.
Multinational companies are unethically exploiting.
So, like orchids that might cure cancer, kind of thing,
Or get us really high from heroin.
right?
Hell yeah.
I disagree with that.
Trees.
Hmm.
You think it's all ethical the way they do it?
The way that they're.
I don't
yeah.
think they're going out specifically to screw the other countries, but that's why I didn't go on the strong end of it.
Gotcha.
Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity.
I strongly disagree with that. Fuck the establishment.
That's right.
With a
Screw
B.
the
for
man.
Bravo. Yeah.
All right. Religion. Astrology accurately explains many things.
I strongly disagree with that. I've lost friends over that same argument.
You cannot be
That's funny.
you
Jesus.
cannot be moral without being religious.
You cannot be moral without being religious. I disagree with that because I am not religious. And I consider myself to be moral.
As he sticks his thumb up his butt. Charity is better.
There's nothing immoral about sticking your thumb up your butt.
Depends on who you ask, isn't it? Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's more moral than sticking my thumb up your butt.
Right, exactly. Especially
I think
without
that's a great
consent.
moral to this story. Charity is better than Social Security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
I strongly agree with that. And Eric Swalwell unintentionally keeps making my point on Twitter. All these people gathered together to give sandwiches to people who are affected by the furlough and the government shutdown.
Yeah,
So you're saying that private charity is better than the government.
right. And it was the point that I've been trying to make too, where people don't give to charities often because they think it's already being taken care of. And as soon as they see that it's not, they're more likely to give.
Especially when they have that money left over
Yeah, yeah,
from not
exactly.
being taxed up the ass.
Right.
Yeah, until folks start taking advantage of it. Some people are naturally unlucky.
I strongly disagree with that. We make our own luck.
That's right. Luck is opportunity plus preparedness.
It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
I strongly disagree with that. It's not the state's job to be instilling religious values.
What if it's a private school?
And that's your choice to send them there.
Yeah, you
All right.
made a conscious choice to do that.
All right, here comes the sex questions. Sex
Oh,
outside
yeah.
marriage is usually immoral.
There's two different ways to answer that.
Sex outside marriage, I don't believe this is talking about cheating.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty.
No,
I
I
always read it as premarital.
No, I
as opposed
understand
to
that. But
extramarital. Yeah.
I
go ahead.
mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with sex outside of marriage, but as far as the morality of it, I mean, if you want to take a look at the footage that came from my headboard camera for 10 years and make your own judgment.
Well, some of the acts that are done might be immoral.
for the
Immorality is
purposes
subjective.
of this question, I'm going to strongly disagree. But like I said, there's two different ways to answer that.
Morality is subjective. I don't care what anybody
That's
says.
right.
A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption.
Should not be excluded.
Should not be
I
excluded.
agree with that. I agree with that. Especially with so many people in the system right now.
Right.
Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
I strongly agree with that.
Isn't it already?
In fact, I consume that from time to time.
No.
What goes on in a private bedroom between
Say
consenting
so.
adults is no business of the state.
I strongly agree with that. If two men want to dress up in leather Boy Scout uniforms and take turns smashing each other in the head with ball-peen hammers while they blow their cat, that's their own business. And imagine how good the cat must feel.
Yeah. It's a
All
very
right.
specific answer.
Yeah.
Is
He's got
there something you want to
his
tell us, Ed?
his short-term memory's working. All right.
Yeah.
No one can feel naturally homosexual.
I disagree with that.
Oh yeah, Robert feels naturally homosexual all the time.
And plus, look at the super chats on that show.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
These days.
No wonder he's so busy. He's making love to everybody.
Here's a good one for you,
Yeah.
Edgar. These days, openness about sex has gone too far on this show.
On this show.
I disagree with that. I mean,
Hasn't
we're
gone
to a
far
point
enough.
where, yeah, maybe some of it's gone too far, but if you want to be too open and talk about that, it's your own business, and it's between you and the people that care to listen. So, yeah, I disagree with that.
Yeah, until it's spewing over into fucking every TV show that our kids are watching.
Well, don't let him watch it.
Yeah, who's the parent here?
Remind me
Yeah.
sometime to tell you guys about this cute little kid show that I've come across that is, in my opinion, extremely racist, but I'm just saying.
Awesome.
All right, so we know what it does and how it gets you there. So let's find out where our buddy J. Edgar falls on the political compass. Boom!
Yeah,
Right around.
right about where I am.
You're a little bit left of John.
No, I think he's just a little bit down more.
Is he? Because I want to
Yeah.
say you were just a little bit more to the right.
Maybe.
Whereas
But
I'm
I know
running
I was-
right on the line between left and
Yeah.
right, but definitely into a more libertarian camp.
Yeah. Well, libertarian left is what you were more. But
Well,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
that's
never
right about where I
crossed
wanna
the
put you.
line on libertarian.
well, yeah,
left.
no, you're on the right.
I
you're
sat
on, yeah,
right
you're
at.
more on
I
the right.
just started to touch the line of the left, but I didn't go into the green.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, there you are. Yeah, I think those strongly agrees and disagrees helped you get down more towards the bottom than me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
'cause-
satisfied with that.
I want to say
Yeah.
John was right around here.
I can't see the cursor, so
You can't see my cursor.
Yeah, I can.
no. Well, all right, good enough. I don't need to see it.
Maybe you
I
need
mean,
some
when you
different
can-
glasses that aren't sunglasses.
Listen, the sun never sets in Coolsville, all right?
So there you have it, J. Edgar. Now you know exactly where you stand because obviously you were confused and you needed us to give you a compass to point you in the right direction.
That's right.
What do you
Yeah, that's a
feel
good
about
spot.
these standings, these findings?
I'm satisfied with that. I mean, when you consider the fact that I probably stayed the same in libertarianism, but I mean, 20 years ago, I was probably touching that left-hand border.
Yep. And this is what I say all the time. As you get older, you're gonna swing further to the right. The only question is how far to the left you were, as to where
Yeah.
you wind up in your older years.
See, what's funny is the first time I took this test, like 3 or 4 years ago, I was actually in the bottom left quadrant, the green there, and then further down, even than you are, Ed. Like, so I was on the other side, and then further down.
But I will
It's
say
really
this.
interesting to see I went like this.
Yeah. John has become more right-leaning and more authoritarian.
Well, I'm
just
still in the
simply
libertarian box.
from when we do what?
I'm still in the libertarian box, not the authoritarian side.
But
I'm still
you
on the
sh-
bottom.
You said more
Anyway, my
authoritarian.
point is
Yeah,
he
yeah.
has shifted more to the right and authoritarian
And up.
since we began this show because we
Mm-hmm.
took this political compass very early on and he scored much more libertarian and a little bit more left than he currently is now. So my question to you is this: do you both think it has to do with your age and more wisdom, or do you think that social policy and government policy are having an impact on where you stand.
You want to go first? All right, I'll go first.
Jinx, you owe me a Coke.
Oh man! All right. Next time I see you IRL, I'll give you a Coke. Um, yeah. So I think it's for me. I mean, I've been reading like a lot of philosophy in the past couple of years, and so I think that's definitely helped with the libertarian aspect, especially the free market aspect of my beliefs. And then it's also what's pushed me more to the right is how far left the left has gone. So like where even when I considered myself on the left, even I would be like, okay, you guys are going a little bit too far this way, and then it keeps getting more and more and more to the left, to where I want to head that way.
So just as
head to the right.
just a sub question on that, do you think that your shift upwards, a little bit upwards to more authoritarian, has to do with the fact that somebody needs to rein these fuckers in?
um, I'm not sure actually why I've gone up a little bit more because I don't like when you're saying more authoritarian. I understand I'm not authoritarian, but
You've moved.
I
It's
yeah,
just
no, I know,
calling
I
out that you
understand.
moved up like 2 lines.
Yeah, I moved up two little notches or whatever. Um, I'm not sure what that's probably due to the fact that I didn't take a lot of strong stances on the test, is what I'm
That
guessing
could
it
be true.
is.
That could be true.
Yeah, and but maybe it's also the immigration has been a huge issue, and that's probably part of I've probably gone more nationalistic
What about
uh
you, J. Edgar?
recently.
I I'm pretty satisfied with where I came on this, and I am definitely looking back on some of the beliefs that I held, whether or not it was beliefs that I genuinely came to, or as a younger person, you're more malleable, you're more willing to
Hmm.
accept the authority of people, and you're more willing to adopt the beliefs that you're told to believe. With that being said, when I my regular slogan, find all the facts and draw your own conclusions. When
Hmm.
I stopped accepting what was being told to me coming out of a union family and being told that the only right way to do it is to be a reliable voting Democrat, and then finding the facts and drawing my own conclusions about everything, I think I don't know if it was age or it's just the fact that I went into practice of thinking and finding my own path on things
Hmm.
that pushed me over to where I am versus where I pretty sure I would have been when I was 18.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I do believe that this political compass is a very good and accurate tool for the informed.
Hmm.
But this would not be a good tool for the general lay public that is not informed about the issues, that have knee-jerk reactions to the issues.
Like college students.
Do I?
Like college students.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're just willing to jump on whatever bandwagon, you'd be all over the map on this. Um, it's that lack of education, and this is where.
Well, what I think it is the lack of principle that would make you jump all over the place. Because if you have a set of guiding
Sure.
principles, you're pretty much gonna, how to answer the question based on how you apply those principles.
But the three of us, are people who attempt to educate ourselves on what these policies and what these things, how they impact our life. And as we get older, we see the implications of these things, right? Which
Hmm.
again leads me to believe that as we get older, we start to lean more right and more authoritarian. Um, and the simple fact that as we get older, we start to realize one main important thing, that to have freedom, true freedom, one must sacrifice liberties. It is one hand washes the other. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
just my
we've
opinion.
had
That's
this
what I
argument
believe.
before. I know we've had this argument before, and we just argue in circles. So,
It is a circular argument. It can be,
hmm.
but it's truly, I don't know. we make peace with who we are in this country and what this country is, and these days we constantly have to make new peace with what it is, or we lose our shit.
You know, it would be fun. We're supposed to have Seawall on next Monday, so let's have him take the political compass test. We'll see if it goes to the right and up far enough. You know.
Yeah, Seawall's going to be planted firmly in that northeastern corner.
Yeah.
I think they're going to need to expand the squares a little bit.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They don't have enough squares.
So now that we have an idea of where our buddy J. Edgar stands, we know now how to treat him in the future. Sorry for your...
That's right, we treat him well.
Sorry for what's coming, buddy. Sorry for what's coming.
Well, I told you right from the beginning, I'm like 80% libertarian, and that seems to be right where I landed. Maybe 75% according to that test.
Yeah, that was definitely firmly in the libertarian right square.
It's a beautiful dream, the libertarian dream. It's a beautiful dream.
Well, it depends on what kind of libertarian you're talking about. You know, it's like Christianity. There's like tons and tons of different flavors.
And if you try and tell your people that you're libertarian, the first thing that comes out is the purity test.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
you're not a real libertarian. You status bootlicker. You know, things like that. But at least they don't try and get you fired from your job.
And
so, you know, it's a good thing.
and that is exactly why libertarianism will never work.
Well, that's why. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
that's
and
why
they put up Gary Johnson.
Right, exactly. Who I did vote for, but only because I didn't want to vote for Trump or Clinton. So,
I mean, how
I was
can
like, fuck it.
libertarianism ever work in a society where everyone believes their opinion is the right one?
well, that's what we have now.
Yeah, but we don't have libertarianism to where it's like, okay, you know.
But the difference is with libertarianism, I'm not going to put my morality onto you. I'm not going to put my opinions onto you and affect your livelihood and affect your life
Sure.
based
I wish
on
you'd
my
put your
opinions.
morality onto me.
But who's going to be the libertarian? Who's
After
going
the show.
Who's going to
Don't
be the
worry about it.
libertarian leader that puts all the rules down? Oh no, rules for libertarians. What the hell?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I
they,
mean,
they do have rules. See, yeah,
Exactly.
That
that's
does
the
seem like
problem.
a contradiction of terms.
so to be free as a libertarian, you must sacrifice liberties. It's a rule of thumb.
I don't know. I think you're.
Hey, I may be whitewashing it too much, but it's
Yeah,
It's
because we've
the
had this
truth.
discussion before of what is freedom, right?
right.
What is freedom?
It's individualistic. I mean, it's, you know, one person thinks they
freedom
should
isn't-
have
no.
the freedom to do anything they want. Another person thinks they should have freedom defined by a constitution. And some of
Freedom
us
is-
believe that we should have our freedoms not enforced by anyone.
Freedom
Well,
is a
the
lack
true
of
libertarian-
coercion. That's what
The
freedom
true
is.
libertarians would want the Constitution thrown out, along with
Well,
all of the other,
The
authority-
furthest libertarian, yeah.
along with all the other authoritative structures and all of the laws.
Yeah.
The only
and
way-
then hire a private police force to sit in their house while they're not occupying it, so that no one takes it.
The only way to have true freedom is to have true anarchy. Anarchy equals freedom.
But it really doesn't, though.
Anarchy is the only way you'll have true freedom, is with nobody accountable for their actions, and then they have the liberty to do whatever they want. That's anarchy.
Yeah.
That's the only true freedom.
And that's
what about
what
anarcho-communism?
yeah.
See, now you want to go and intersectionalize this shit.
Well, that's what you were just talking about anarcho-capitalism.
Who is
I
that? What I
mean-
was talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't
Those
bring
are, those are
capital.
like those are the most hardcore libertarians you'll ever find, or ANCAPs.
What's that got to do with capitalism, though?
Well, because it's businesses. You know, you can have your
Oh
own
no!
business. and do all this,
In true freedom, capitalism isn't a thing. It's just a
Well,
free for all. It's
don't tell an
there's no
ANCAP.
rules.
That's
There's no
capitalism.
restrictions.
Yeah.
True
Right, no
freedom
restrictions,
means no
right.
restrictions, no coercion by any
Right.
party.
No, it means no restrictions. which means that any companies can do whatever they want.
Sure, and I can then I
And
don't have any restrictions,
from him or not.
and I don't have any restrictions about going into his office and blowing him away if I don't like what the company does. Right? I can go blow the CEO away with no problem, no restrictions.
Yeah, but he's going to have his private police force stop you at the door and kill you before
I'll
you
bring
can
some
even reach the door.
buddies. I'll bring all the weapons I don't have to register. You know,
Right.
Sure, secret police.
I'll bring my chain gun.
Oh,
You know?
look who showed up.
Oh, Epic Hands.
Oh, who's that?
Hans,
Going.
welcome.
Hans.
Welcome to the end of the show.
Yes. Yeah, you'll have to go back and watch it. It was pretty
Now, this
interesting.
is the Epic Hans, not to be confused with the run-of-the-mill
Epic
Hans. All right?
Right. This is
He
not
is a
your
pretty
mediocre
epic
Hans.
especially when it's got a couple vodkas in him.
Vodka. I don't know if I can like him now.
I've known him for a few years. He's a good guy.
If he's a vodka drinker, he's a friend of mine.
I think I heard earlier today that his drinking days were behind him. So
Depending on the
Oh
vodka.
no.
Depending on the vodka, I have to say that though. I will throw that caveat in there. All right, so it's been real. It's been fun. J. Edgar, I'm so glad you came by to see us. Any thoughts on the night?
well, the night was good. I found out that I'm firmly where I thought that I was on the economic scale,
Firmly?
and I'm firmly where I thought that I was.
Okay.
Very firmly down into that southeast corner.
It's a good spot.
We've imparted
hang out with me.
affirmation.
And of course, I'm glad that you stopped by and helped me on my show, which will come out tomorrow morning.
I wouldn't.
Tomorrow morning,
I don't know how much of a help it was, but hey, you know, somebody wanted to let me talk. So what do I do? I just talk.
Oh yeah. You can't stop him if you get him started.
Yeah.
That's what I was counting on.
Yeah, he had to play the get off the stage music like 3 times on me.
Yeah, with the flashing like wrap it up sign.
Wrap it up.
That's right.
Oh, John, I was going to let you know too. I don't know if you saw my with Emily, but I'm going to audio format for
Oh yeah.
my show, and your episode is already up on the audio formats.
Oh, awesome.
Google Play and iTunes are taking forever to make the approval, but you are up on Stitcher.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we'll have to put that in the description as well. Once Roberts comes out, we'll add those to this episode's description and probably the next one as well.
For 3 weeks.
For 3 weeks. I don't know. No, he's got to pay. You only get
3 episodes, whichever comes first.
No, you only get one week for free. After that, you got to pay.
Right, work out some monetization there on the side.
Right.
Hey, folks, thanks for listening to us tonight. We like it when you come around while we're just shooting the shit. Glad we had J. Edgar on here. John, they can find us somewhere. They're somewhere out there. Where is it they can find us?
Yes, they can find us on Twitter at the Gen Gap P.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. We're going to be out of here, but we've got a show coming up for you Friday. We'll be hitting the waves on Friday at 8:30, I believe it is. We might have something interesting to talk about, or it'll just be our normal bag of crap. But hey, what's wrong with
Hopefully
the
we'll be talking about the State of the Union, I'm sure.
I'm sure we won't be able to not. We'll see if my prediction for the State of the Union is correct. So
that's true.
Remember the talking format. Let's see how I do. Again, thanks for joining us tonight, everybody. J. Edgar, thanks for being here. And if you don't mind, I'll give you the last word as we sign off.
Never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions.
Have a good night,
all right,
folks.
my man. See you guys.